So M.2 PCIe Express, what's it all about and what's it mean for solid state drives? I've purchased a Samsung SM951 and I thought I'd put one into my machine. Time is money, you know, when you're doing your job, any piece of speed is good. It means you've got more time to do other things, great. So I bought one, and unlike a lot of reviewers, I paid for it out of my own money. It wasn't given to me, so I'll be honest about what I think about it. On paper, it's really good. It's 4 times faster than something like my Samsung 840 EVO. So you would think there would be quite a difference when it comes to overall system performance. Boot up times are one thing, actual system responsiveness and how quick it does tasks is far more important. You know, we all put the kettle on when we turn our computer on in the morning, so a couple of seconds here or there doesn't actually make a lot of difference. Now, if you've gone from mechanical hard drives to solid state drives, you'll know there's a massive improvement. They are so much better, it'll transform your machine. So much so, it's probably not worth buying a new computer until you've done it, because it actually revolutionises the way it all works. But what happens when you go to a faster solid state drive from an already fast solid state drive? Well, hopefully I'll explain what I've found, and I'll give you my conclusion if it's worth it or not. These things aren't cheap, and yeah, at the end of the day, it's got to get a bit of payback there somewhere. So without further ado, I'll let you know what I think. My machine's an i7-5820. It's overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz. It runs 16 megs of, or 16 gigs rather, of memory, and I use it predominantly for video editing. I use Devinci Resolve, Creative Cloud, the whole suite. So essentially I need it to be quicker at doing its tasks. When you first use your machine after replacing the drive, I would say you won't notice the difference. As disappointed as I am, you will not notice the difference. These things are quite expensive and you would think it's going to transform the machine. The problem arises because the machine's already fast. When the machines were slow, the difference was really noticeable. But because you have a fast machine to start off with, because it's running a solid state, the difference is minuscule. If you imagine the time it takes to do a task, the file acquisition time is actually relatively small in relation to the process time, etc., etc. So by reducing the file acquisition time by a quarter or to a quarter of the time, doesn't actually have that much impact on the overall scheme of things. So initially I was kind of hoping that things would be dramatically different, but actually I found out there's no real difference. With the exception of a couple of programs, you won't notice the difference at all. Video editing, things like that, you just don't notice the difference at all. I can have Resolve running, I can have Premiere, and I can have Aftereffects running all at the same time, and they all work the same. There is no difference. They don't take any longer to load. Saving, when you save back to them, it does make a difference. But again, it's not going to change your life. You're not going to get an extra job in during the day because it's saved 5 seconds quicker. The only exception I've found is with Creative Cloud Sound Booth. Now, Sound Booth, if you have a large sound bite, for instance, it needs to be very large, 2, maybe 3 hours of sound. When you export that, if you export it back to the SM drive, it's incredibly quick. It's a quarter of the time of going to any other type of drive. That said, it's still only a very short amount of time. Exporting, like I say, 2 or 3 hours is only going to take you 15 seconds, thereabouts. So it's not really doing anything for you, really. It's saving you a bit of time, but nothing really. I'll show you the speeds. I'll show you that my machine's is fully fledged. It's running on PCIe Express, or PCI Express rather, 4 lanes. So I've got the full speed, and I can get some Diskmark pictures up for you so you can see. I won't bother running the entire routine. There is no point in doing that. As you can see here, this was a disk speed test on my EVO, so it's 550 as you'd expect, and you can see here on my SM951 we've got the full speed, so we're not restricted to a 10 gigabit per second M.2 bus, which is what my board is. It's a Gigabyte X99 SLI, and the M.2 is 10 gigabits. So I've got the adapter card to give me the full speed, and it's somewhat disappointing really. I think if I had my money over again, I would spend it differently. It's not really added much to the party, which is really disappointing because I kind of was hoping there would be a vast improvement. I'll show you these up on the screen better so you can see the actual figures on them. But overall, performance-wise, no different, none at all. All I would say is when I initially installed the drive, I cloned my Windows 7 operating system onto it so I could boot from one system to the other. And I actually found the Windows 7 booted marginally quicker within, it was nothing though, it was within half a second of one another, but the Windows 7 definitely booted slightly quicker on using the EVO drive. But that's possibly because when you're using the NVMe driver, it needs to load that as well. So there may be a bit of a trade-off with the additional characters or the additional command set it needs to load. Actually slows down the boot more than you gain from the actual drives being faster, which seems a bit strange, but that's how it is. So yeah, overall, the machine boots really quickly into Windows 10 on it. It's 15 seconds boot, which is lovely, and that's a fully loaded machine as well. That's not just a fresh operating system, but overall performance, you're not going to notice it. It's no, for the money, it's not. Possibly, I think if you were running a server where it had a deeper queue length of functions going on, you would notice the difference more. Copying from it or to it from like a RAID system, that's incredibly quick. But again, that doesn't happen that often, not in my workflow anyway. It's quick enough from a standard SSD anyway. So to sum it up, it's a nice to have, and if it's on your Christmas list, then it'd be nice if it was in your Christmas stocking. But would I go out and spend whatever they are when you see this video on one? At the moment, I don't think we're really making the most of it. I don't think there's any real benefits to changing. I think the Samsung 840 EVO is a superb drive, and in hindsight, I should have bought a bigger one. Thanks for watching.